Tonight on Joy News Prime, investigations by Africa Education Watch reveal widespread leakage of 2020 WASSCE from various distribution centers to online platforms with hundreds of patrons.
So the questions are in. Immediately that announcement is made, then they will direct all members on the platform to a certain paid WhatsApp group.
We have details of the report, including recommendations. Defense Minister Dominic Nitto justifies the hiring of a luxury jet for President Akufo-Addo's recent trip to Europe, arguing though the presidential jet is airworthy, it could not have made the trip.
The decision to travel particularly to long and multiple destinations, such as the president traveling to France, Belgium, South Africa, and back to Ghana, especially during this COVID time, would always require a larger capacity aircraft, such as a BBJ or an aircraft ACJ 319U, even when the Falcon is airworthy.
Government says its plan to vaccinate some 20 million Ghanaians against COVID-19 is still on track, despite setbacks with vaccine procurement.
Those of us who have not had our second dose yet, there is a lot of hope. We have indications that is giving us hope for the very near future. We are expecting vaccines from the US. We've got a promise from the UK to try to help us get our second dose go through very quickly.
In business, Ghanaian economy is still reeling from impact of COVID-19 pandemic, recording a paltry 3.1% growth in the first quarter of this year.
If you're looking at it strictly from the oil perspective, as was indicated with the oil and all the other sectors' point of view, the first quarter of 2021, the economy has grown by 3.1%.
And the Joy News Clean Ghana campaign is back after it was suspended at the height of the coronavirus pandemic.
Yeah, egu say we ye dwane wa hai eye. Nti adenti na etesa. Ye dwane nyina e dia mam enwase na aduane aka no. Boys no be say aduane ni nyina ye be sizi aduane no. Ye ma won ton say aduane we emfa mama mpo mo de wote. Back with a bang. My name is Israel and Joy News Prime is coming to you live from our Fanofa studios. Akokumlimne here in Accra on your digital terrestrial TV because we're free to air, and also on DSTV channel 421 and GoTV channel 144. This is a home of independent, fearless, credible and impactful journalism. Stay tuned in. Were leaked in the 2020 WASSCE from various distribution points to online platforms with hundreds of people awaiting supply of the leaked questions. Presenting its findings at a virtual launch, Executive Director Kofi Asari attributed the shortcomings to poor supervision as well as the activities of some unscrupulous officials working with police cover.
Now, there are a lot of rogue websites and Facebook pages and Telegram pages. But the most prominent one was called the Hot Stitch platform. Hot Stitch is actually on Telegram. And it has over 150,000 members on that particular page. So our sources were on the Telegram, but they were not on the paid one. So they will move them to the paid platform and then they will share the questions. And then the answers will come around 4 a.m.
Mr. Asari also noted the contact details of more than 1,500 WAEC examiners which got leaked prior to the conduct of the exam and undermined credibility.
As I mentioned, on 17th August, for the first time in the history of WAEC in Ghana, over 50 years, the names and contact of examiners, markers, were leaked on social media. And then they were authenticated. Indeed, the next day, WAEC came. What actually went public that very day after consulting the Parliamentary Select Committee on Education and then also the teacher unions. And then we went ahead and then blew the whistle. Then the next day, WAEC came and confirmed that indeed the list that had leaked was credible, but it was a draft list, not a final list.
Africa Education Watch has made some recommendations to improve the system. My colleague Ernest Menu joins me via Zoom with a copy. Now, Ernest, run us through some of the recommendations.
So there are about 10 recommendations in all. The first one has to do with the regulation of WAEC. They are asking the Ministry of Education to set up a regulatory body that will deal with the granting or revocation of license to examination bodies, including WAEC, based on the quality of their assessment and practices. Then they talk about the break of the WAEC monopoly, being the only body within the sub-region or in Ghana actually to organize these exams. Then the third one, very interesting, which is the digitization of the distribution of the question papers. They are asking the education stakeholders, the ministry, to look at, or WAEC, to look at a process where they can use systems to distribute the papers digitally instead of the manual distribution, to take out the human elements which often result in these leakages. And then the fourth recommendation, to reinforce the ban on the use of mobile phones in schools, because this is, for them, the main, means by which the questions are leaked to the students and to the schools. The fifth recommendation by Africa Education Watch looks at the strengthening and publicization of prosecutions of individuals who are, arrested for various offenses and making them public. Now, the sixth one, they talk about the divorcing the Ghana Education Service or the Ministry of Education from WAEC's governing committee. And then Africa Education Watch is also looking at engaging external consultants to speed up investigation into alleged malpractices. The recommendation number 8 talks about the Ministry of Education ensuring the timely release of funds to WAEC in order to assist its operations. The ninth one has to do with a review of assessment methods. And the final one, which Africa Education Watch talks about, has to do with the conduct of a nationwide anti-examination malpractice campaign, to change the psyche of students and all the stakeholders involved in examination in order to reduce the menace.
All right, thank you very much, Ernest Menu, with those recommendations from Africa Education Watch. But let's stay on Zoom and speak with Kofi Asare, who's the Executive Director of Education Watch Africa. Now, thank you very much, Mr. Asare, for making time to speak with us. I'd want us to go with the recommendations, first of all. Two of the recommendations: breaking the WAEC monopoly. Is there another examination body, the likes of WAEC, that can take over if WAEC is gotten rid of?
Thank you very much, Israel. Yes, yes, there is. In Nigeria, for instance, they have broken the WAEC monopoly. In Ghana, now we have agencies conducting international baccalaureate. We have the Cambridge examiners also conducting their ICGSE. There are about 3 international examining bodies in Ghana. WAEC is the 4th. All of them conduct exams in the pre-tertiary sector, especially in the private sector.
All right, so they conduct it, but are they doing it on the scale of WAEC? And especially because WAEC's exam is tailored for us here in Africa, but essentially the international examination bodies you're talking about, they are simply invigilating exams that are brought from elsewhere.
Yes, they are not just invigilating, but they are actually assessing. When students are taught, you can have 2 or 3 different companies assessing them using various assessment methods. WAEC will normally use the recall, asking you questions about what you have been taught, and they reproduce what you were taught to show that you have achieved a particular learning outcome. There are other methods where you have to actually practically demonstrate what you have taught. So instead of asking the person 1 + 1 is equal to what, you actually ask the person to participate in an activity that will enable you to assess the person's understanding of what 1 + 1 is. So there are various assessment methods. We are overly used to the test-based method, which WAEC uses. But there are several others which, even when you have the questions, it may not even help you in any way. And it is only when I'm not saying it's only when you bring in other competitors with various assessment methods that will enable Ghana adapt those methods. No, but then bringing in others would first infuse some competition, because WAEC has been in a comfort zone for over 50 years, irrespective of the malpractice. WAEC is the referee, they are the player, they are the coach. They investigate themselves, they clear themselves, and they actually certify themselves. It is only when you have competition that WAEC will begin to realize that the turf is now not a monopolistic one, but one that standards and quality really counts if you want to remain relevant. And that's why that suggestion.
We should also be realistic about the kind of competition that these international bodies can give WAEC.
Exactly. We know, as I said, that there are so many countries that have demonopolized their assessment systems. Okay, in the UK, for instance, there are about 6 assessment bodies conducting assessments. In Nigeria, the WAEC has not got a monopoly any longer. But I'm not saying that Nigeria is doing it, so we should do it. No. What we are actually saying is that competition will infuse some dynamism and innovation in the methods of assessment.
Right.
And help us migrate from the test-based system, which we are overly used to. And then apart from that, it will enable WAEC infuse more quality and inject more technology into its work. The agency with which WAEC must act will have been emphasized if there's some competition. But if we remain monopolistic, there won't be any agency by WAEC to change most of its traditional methods that have been overtaken by technology.
Right, so you come up with this, another recommendation, and you're talking about the banning essentially of the use of mobile phones in the secondary schools. Now, at the point when we're trying to improve or get more of these students to be more tech savvy, why are we looking at banning mobile phone use? Shouldn't we be finding a way around the problem rather than just getting rid of the mobile phones, because they're useful tools?
Well, we are not advocating for the banning of mobile phones.
All right.
The ban has been in force for the past 7 or 8 years. So we are not actually advocating for it. It's actually there. We are saying that the ban should be reinforced in the sense that the platform, the conduit, the channel for moving questions and answers into the school environment is through the mobile phone. And so if mobile phones are banned, then that ban has to be reinforced. We are not saying it should be banned. However, yes, it is important for us to recognize that students must have access to information and communication technology and gadgets that will, facilitate that particular access. But mobile phones happen not to be the only way to access ICT or expand your horizon, in the education sector. There are various tablets and laptops that students in other countries use, which are configured such that you will not be able to access certain websites. And so if we get to the level where we think that giving government free Wi-Fi in senior high schools, we are ready to allow students to access the internet for learning, which I think is very, very, very critical. We need to give them devices with enhanced security features that limits them to, for instance, government's Edmodo platform, which is a virtual learning platform for teaching and learning in the pre-tertiary sector, or the iCampus, so that you have a gadget, but it is configured to work on only certain educational websites that government is actually providing security and not exposing you to the dangers of social media platforms where questions are traded.
Now, these gadgets that you're talking about would have to be made available by the state. Is government in a position to supply these gadgets?
Of course, it depends on the arrangement government goes in with parents. But then, if parents can buy, government...
Especially in an era of free SHS.
Well, government is not buying trunks and jobbers for students. Government is not buying provisions for students. So there are so many things government is not buying. And so perhaps government can look at encouraging parents to buy a particular customized product, which the ministry will facilitate its availability. And then make provision for students who genuinely cannot afford so that you can go for one at a school if you cannot afford. But it shouldn't be a product on the market. It has to be a customized product with enhanced security features that constricts students to certain platforms which are relevant to their curriculum and their learning process. And
we should also note that government is not done supplying the textbooks that the schools require to think about getting these gadgets as well.
No, we are saying that immediately the Wi-Fi reached the schools. This was a discussion we had, that the Wi-Fi cannot only be for administrative purposes, but then also for research. And in this research and learning, it shouldn't be only for teachers, but for students.
All right.
And so that discussion is something on the table. But within the context of ensuring that examination questions and answers do not reach students illegally, we are of the opinion that because there's a ban on mobile phones, we should enforce it. Other than that, questions will be used. Questions will penetrate the school system through the banned, equipment,
right?
And then influence students not to learn, but rely on questions. But let me quickly indicate that in all this, prosecution is key.
Okay.
Government demonstrate political will. The Attorney General must demonstrate enough political will to prioritize prosecuting people who have been found culpable or who have been cited for various acts of irregularities, especially invigilators, those who have been selling questions, police officers who have been cited and indicted for actually selling questions. Beyond just indicting them and sacking them from their workplaces, we want to see prosecutions. That is the only way we can deter someone from thinking of doing the same thing next year. Other than that, the discussion is going to repeat the next year.
All right. Thank you very much, Kofi Asare, Executive Director of Education Watch Africa. You're watching Joy News Prime. And moving on, officially charged with murder, according to a recommendation from the Attorney General's Department. The two boys, Nicholas Kinney and Eric Nyako, were accused of killing Ishmael earlier in April this year. The two boys are alleged to have smashed Ishmael's head with a club and cement blocks after luring him to an uncompleted building. Ishmael died instantly and was buried in the same building by these boys. State prosecutors on Thursday informed the court of the Attorney General's advice. And lawyer for the two boys, Samuel Itiamiwa, says he intends to make an application for bail since his clients have been in police custody for too long.
No, you see, we'll start yes, let me say it will move from here to a bigger court, not the High Court.
Okay, as counsel for the two, I remember one time when we spoke to you, you said you had been hitting a roadblock finding the family and the relatives of the two because of the circumstances, the threats to their own lives because they are not living in the area anymore, etc. Now, have you been able to reach out to them, and what's the level of cooperation between you and the relatives of the two at least?
Yes, I've been able to reach them, but we are cooperating. But for their security, I don't want to disclose where they are now. Yes.
Are you still going to the High Court for the bail application?
Yes, I'm going to the High Court for the bail application.
How soon?
Let's see, by next week, I'll move my application.
Which means you've already filed the bail application?
I'll say yes.
On the matter, the case has been scheduled for further hearing on July 15. Now, two persons are receiving treatment at the Koforidua Regional Hospital after they were allegedly shot by several members of the Community Mining Protection Unit at Adeso in the Upper West Achim district of the Eastern Region. The Community Protection Unit is a task force set up by the Cheheni Osajifo Amweto for repaying to clamp down on illegal mining and logging. The team has been accused of stealing cash of more than 90,000 cedis after they attacked a sand-winning firm in the area. Three of the suspects were, however, apprehended by the Adeso District Police Command after they were giving a hot chase. They were said to have stormed several land-winning concessions and unleashed brutalities on some workers who had questioned and resisted the operations. Samulato Forcing, one of the persons whose concession was attacked, explained that the suspects intimidated and extorted money from them. According to him, they shot the thigh and legs of two of his workers on duty who had questioned why they retrieved the 90,000 cedis from his accountant. The victims are Razak Hassan, 25, and Bright Apal, 30. Mr. Forcing explained that they alerted the firm's drivers who blocked the main Adesu road with their tipper trucks to aid the police and some residents in arresting the suspects. The family of the petty trader who died in Monday's attack on a Bullion van at Adedingpo here in Accra is calling on government to release the body for burial to bring closure to their grief. The elder brother of Ifua Bedu tells Adom News the mother of the deceased has been suffering sleeplessness since her daughter was killed. The Ghana Police Service visited the family to commiserate with them.
I am Inspector General of Police, your name, for the Coca-Cola. I run in Papa, said the name.
I am speaking on behalf of the Inspector General of Police. We would like to express our condolences to you and the family, and we pray that God will also comfort you all.
They say,
we are investigating the case at the police headquarters, and we ask that if you need any information, you can reach out to us. Let us work together so we can be able to end this on a good note. We want to thank the government and the police service, but we are pleading that you will help us bury our child as quickly as possible to prevent any further problems. That is all we ask for.
About the timber market Wednesday afternoon's exercise set in motion the second phase of the Joy News Clean Ghana campaign, which was suspended when the coronavirus pandemic hit. From food stands invaded by flies to choked gutters next to these food stands, the officials were incensed at the level of disregard for hygiene standards. My colleague Manuel Kranting was with the team and filed this report.
The team took off from the old office of the Accra Metropolitan Assembly, and then the first stop has been the timber market within the Amamumu electoral area, of course, of the Ododo constituency.
Sir Director, good morning. Morning, sir. You know why we are here. We are coming from AMA, Environmental Health and Sanitation. Our presence here is to help you live in a safe and clean environment. So this is an open drain where government have constructed for all of you. The purpose of the drain was to carry wastewater away in case it rains. So we've gotten here, we've seen that the whole drain is stuffed with plastic and wood items, which you people are into that business here.
This is not our problem. It came from the top when the rain falls. So Saturday, we started cleaning this gutter from the lagoon. The assemblyman brought us a big container. It was full. Go and see, the rubbish is over there still. The second bag that should have been collected is there.
You people came together yourselves?
We gathered ourselves. All of us here.
With the assemblyman?
This man, I and assemblyman, they took that container away, promising us they will bring another container for us to put in the one over there. Good. Right now, when we put this thing down, even the one we started over there has not been completed. Okay, so when we bring this thing out, it will get dry, go back into the drain again.
Okay. The work they said they've done there was the initiative taken by the assembly member, which was very good. They were supposed to continue to follow up with the assemblyman to have come and return with the container for the waste to be collected, then they come and continue with this place. For For now, they said they have made efforts. The assemblyman said he is coming to continue with it. But we are saying that our presence here, they said they are prepared. We are putting them into the drain. They should be silted. We will arrange for a container to come and clear the weight, clear what is left there, and then we see that the job is done to the
immediately.
Immediately. So we are organizing them to clean the drain.
You see wood here. This is where they are burning refuse. And you see the plastics there. Before you realize, the wind can blow some fire into this wood and the place will start burning. Then they will start shouting for help. And we need help. We've done that. We are always the cause of most of the fire outbreak that happen. You can see all this place is built by what? Wood.
And there is no any access route here. So in the event of any fire outbreak here, what do you think the whole community will get back?
Inti inraya egusei a uye dwane wo hai eye. Inti adenti na etesa. Ye dwane nyina e de amam enwase na aduane aka no. Boys no be se aduane ni nyina ye be sizi aduane no ye ma won ton se aduane we emfa mama mpo momu de wote. Ni etoso so ye be ma samankrata. Na ye do bibia nim.
The officials from the Accra Metropolitan Assembly are now taking charge of the food which has been exposed to flies without covering, and there's been a directive for all food vendors to get tested for hepatitis B and other infections. Well, a request was made of her to produce her document of having taken that particular health examination, which she has failed to show.
What we have done is the food she is selling to the people has been exposed to flies. You can see the environment in which she's selling the food. It is unhygienic, and you could see that the food was just exposed to dust and to flies. So we've taken the food. We asked her of her medical certificate. She has got no medical certificate. So we are taking action against her, and to be followed up with a court summons to set her as a deterrent to others who are doing same thing. This is just the beginning in this place. She's not a first-time offender. They are aware. Officers have been going around always, and if you ask her, officers have been here more than 3-4 times, and all they put deaf ears to it. That is why today, as we have come, we are here to ensure clean environment and a hygienic state of environment that can enhance health. So we wouldn't allow her to sell food for the public and make a profit at the expense of the health of the person patronizing the food.
We're currently in an Islamic school that is within this predominantly wooden structured community. And Mr. Asetanga, who is the environmental officer of the AMA, and then of course Madam Florence Kuchi, who is head of public health at the AMA, have been issuing some pretty stern directives to the caterers and some of the other vendors.
We've seen that they are not complying to the COVID-19 protocols. None of them here is wearing a mask. And
no, now we come to mosque, so that
no, the women cooking here, none of them. Even when you are coming to mosque, you are supposed to wear masks. After you perform your ablution, you have the mask in your pocket. You are supposed to put the mask on. So please, we are entreating all of them to go get their masks and wear it now before they come and start whatever they are doing. And we are not going to allow them here.
The matter you are talking is a very serious matter. The thing you are talking, how government talk, we see everything be serious matter. So there is nothing I can say to against you. Yeah, you get my point.
They are going to comply.
Oh, you are going to do what we ask you to do.
Yes, I will do. I will do anything the government say we will do. We'll do it.
So when they come back in about a week's time, everything will be okay over here.
We will come to visit for your office. Okay. Then we will talk together. You understand? You come today to your office for the AM for Timber Market. Okay. We will come there and talk with you how we will do.
So that you can resolve this. Thank you very much. So this man operates this particular eatery, and there's been, caution. A statement has been issued to them, and they are to report to the AMA office for further discussion.
Need to keep your environment clean to avoid the visit from the Clean Ghana campaign. You're watching Joy News Prime. We're taking a break, but still ahead in the bulletin. Defense Minister Dominic Nitwell justifies the hiring of a luxury jet for President Akufo-Addo's recent trip to Europe, arguing though the presidential jet is airworthy, it could not have made the trip.
The decision to travel particularly to long and multiple destinations, such as the president traveling to France, Belgium, South Africa, and back to Ghana, especially during this COVID time, would always require a larger capacity aircraft such as a BBJ or an aircraft ACJ 319U, even when the Falcon is airworthy.
Government says its plan to vaccinate some 20 million Ghanaians against COVID-19 is still on track despite setbacks with vaccine procurement.
Those of us who have not had our second dose yet, there is a lot of hope. We have indications that is giving us hope for the very near future. We are expecting vaccines from the US. We've got a promise from the UK to try to help us get our second dose go through very quickly.
And then in business, which comes up after the break, the Ghanaian economy is still reeling from the impact of COVID-19, recording a paltry 3.1% growth in the first quarter of this year.
Strictly from the oil perspective, as was indicated with the oil and from the oil and all the other sectors point of view, the first quarter of 2021, the economy has grown by 3.1%.
Stay tuned in, we'll be back in a bit.
My name is Charles Aite. I come your way with business. The effects of COVID-19 continue to bite the economy as it expanded by 3.1% in the first quarter of this year, which is the lowest since the same period in 2019. Construction, manufacturing, as well as information and communication subsectors were all main drivers of growth for the first 3 months. Here is the government statistician, Professor Samuel Kobina-Eneng, who explains why the economy slowed down.
Aggregated point, if you're looking at it strictly from the oil perspective, as was indicated with the oil and from the oil and all the other sectors point of view, the first quarter of 2021, the economy has grown by 3.1%, and as was indicated, with the exception of the contractions that occurred in the second and third quarters of 2020, this is the lowest that we've recorded since the first quarter of 2019. So one should be careful in alluding to some stability being achieved. So although we are beginning to see a growth rate, and indeed with all the sectors put together and from the from the oil point of view, the economy grew by 3.1%. Again, discounting the effect of oil and looking at it from the non-oil perspective, the economy in the first quarter of 2021 grew by 4.6%, and this is not the lowest since 2019. So from that point of view, you can say that the growth rate for the first quarter of 2021 from the non-oil perspective is sort of the average around what has happened over the quarters since 2019, when we know that in the third quarter of 2019, the non-oil growth rate was 4.4%.
Well, meanwhile, economist Professor Pisa Quarter says the 3.1% growth rate is indicative that the economy has seen significant recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic.
I think if you even look at the last year's figure of 0.4%, we are about the 7th in Africa, or if not the world, in terms of our growth number. So it's encouraging, although we should be growing at 8 to 10% per annum. But we have recovered compared to where we were in the second and third quarters of 2020, where we recorded a recession. That is 2 quarters of negative growth rates. Now we are reporting positive growth rates of about 3.1%. That is encouraging, and we need to work more. We need to do more. We need to do whatever we can to get access to the vaccine, get out of this pandemic, and move our economy forward. Of course, government should find revenue, find innovative ways of raising revenue, and be less reliant on borrowing, so that we can together sustain the growth process.
20 years ago, as a comprehensive one that has boosted the revenue base of the country significantly despite its challenges. Tax revenue shot up by 20% in the first year of introduction of VAT, as it helped reduce tax fraud and avoidance. There is more in this report.
Dr. Ali Nachia said the challenge of policy inconsistencies such as the introduction and withdrawal of VAT flat rate scheme should be addressed to enhance the mobilization of indirect tax. He was speaking at the PFM Dialogue Series on the theme 20 years of VAT, the good, the bad, the ugly.
What have we done to ensure why we removed it has been corrected? Because now the agitations are still there, should be withdrawn. Because of the uneven playing field. If I'm bringing in an item and I'm charged the standard rate because the person I'm buying from is on the standard rate, I can't claim it as an input VAT.
A tax lecturer at the University of Professional Studies, John Amu, for his part, called on all and sundry to embrace VAT since it has done more good to the country than harm. According to him, VAT pivoted the introduction of the National Health Insurance Levy, which today has benefited majority of Ghanaians.
In 1994, the tax evasion as a percentage of GDP was what? 20.67%. Then in 1998, it was 19.64%. But a year after the introduction of VAT, reintroduction, the tax evasion rate dropped to what? 18.76%. So we're saying that the introduction of VAT has brought about a reduction in tax evasion, tax fraud, and tax avoidance.
Former Finance Minister Seth Tekpe, who is a director of PFM Tax, said VAT assumption tax should not be used to penalize the businesses that are agents of collecting the tax. He told the media that VAT is a good tax that has aided revenue generation for the country.
So if you create more of those tax structures, then you end up increasing costs, because when business cannot claim the cost as credit, or it's not deferred as an exemption, or it is no credit, right? Then they add it to cost. And when they add something to cost, it increases prices. And if they cannot push the prices, then they find ways and means of avoiding the tax.
The event attracted people from academia, development partners such as the World Bank, and think tanks.
Segment Sports is up next. Just stay.
Still watching Joy News Prime Time to bring you the sports. My name is Hans Mensah, and now the value of Coca-Cola fell in the region of $4 billion after Cristiano Ronaldo disparagingly removed 2 bottles from their place at his press conference on Monday. The Portugal star is known to be a keen advocate of healthy living and is not a fan of fizzy drinks such as Coca-Cola. The message was clear, and as well as going viral on social media, it had an impact on the financial world too. Coca-Cola shares dropped from $56.10 to $55.22 almost immediately after Ronaldo's gesture, meaning the company's value fell from $242 billion to $238 billion. George Rafi is from the Joy Business Desk and has been explaining the impact of Ronaldo's gesture on the Coca-Cola brand.
Look at Ronaldo as an influencer, someone that a lot of people follow, Instagram, followers, and all those things. And for a lot of people who might have invested in Coca-Cola, because Coca-Cola is listed on the stock market, and most of these developed markets, you have these big companies floating their shares on the stock market, and anything that happens in that economy impact on that product. A comment, a president of a bank or a company could make a comment, and then people will react and all those things. Now, for most of these investors in Coca-Cola, I think their fear was that because Ronaldo went out to tell people that don't drink Coke and drink water, the fear was that that advice could impact on the demand of the product.
Okay.
Now, for these direct shareholders, investors, if it impacts on demand for the product, the rippling effect could be on the company's revenue, i.e. profit. So just like in economics where you talk about game theory, where you are trying to outsmart your competitor, some of these investors thought that, okay, listen, if this could affect demand for the product, can I get out now so that I absorb that shocks that will come to the company in terms of the share price because of this advice that don't drink Coca-Cola, drink water? It will impact on demand, it will impact on revenue. Look at that in stock market, you want to look at the total market capitalization of the company on the market. So East Gary today is worth about $10 billion on the Ghana Stock Exchange. That is the total market cap. That is divided into the shares that are on the market. If you lose about $1 billion because each share price value is going up by X amount, that will be that value wiped off the company that is on the stock market, and that is what has happened. Don't forget that Ronaldo didn't just remove the brand away, but went ahead to tell people that it is not good for you and go in for water. And definitely that would impact on demand for that product.
On Krobo Dumas with the aim of giving talented but underprivileged young footballers the opportunity to make it to the highest level. Here is a report by George Ado Jr.
Knowing where you come from, how hard it is, to get to where I am, without help is very difficult. So this foundation is, made to, make all the young ones with talent to be able, to reach where they want to reach, give them the opportunity that they deserve, the opportunity that most of us did not get, some of my friends did not get when we were young, so that they will be able, to be someone or more than me, as the future.
Joe Ado, an ex-Black Stars captain and advisor to the current deputy captain of the Black Stars, commends the efforts of the player, admitting that the demands of football makes it difficult for active players to engage in such projects.
Because when you are playing, you don't think of stuff like that, because your concentration most of the time is how you're going to win games. Because these days salaries are so huge that you don't want to be distracted by anything. But for him to have 1 week, he only has 1 week break, because he came from UK, went straight to the national team camp, and he has 1 week and he's supposed to leave tonight. But for him to put that in his program, to come all the way to where he grew up, to do something like this, I think is very, very good. It's a very good initiative, and I hope all the other players will look and see if they can, help the youth from their villages to grow. It doesn't always have to be the urban areas. It could also come from the rural areas. As you know, most of us footballers who play in the Black Stars and stuff, we didn't come from Temanakra. We came from our villages. And for him to have this initiative right here in his village, I think it's a very tremendous achievement.
Thomas Partey also revealed his intent of setting up an academy in Odumase Krobo.
Yeah, we've been doing this for the past 3 years. We have, so many things that, are yet to be unveiled. But, the first step is to, open this, and then for the people in this country or in this city to be aware of and to be able to support with whatever they want to do, and then, be able to push the talented ones. Everybody will have their opportunity as they deserve.
Oh, certainly a commendable gesture on the part of Thomas Partey. That's it for now. There is more sports later in the bulletin.
How about you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Okay.
So I have this for you. It's a present. Can you read that for the people?
Art and the Power of Goodness, a collection of John Ejekum Kufuor, is by Ivor Ajimengdua. The forward by Gordon Brown.
Yes.
Oh wow.
So this book was launched yesterday
Right.
at the French embassy, and the vice president was in attendance.
And you were there too?
Of course, big people. And we love art. So for those of you who love
Is that why you
fine
didn't come to do showbiz yesterday?
Yes, reason why I'm presenting this to you. So are you okay now?
Is it supposed to be a bribe?
I'm not bribing you. You need to read this. It's beautiful. Here's a report from yesterday.
With great pleasure that I would like to unveil to you Art and the Power of Goodness, a collection of John Ejekum Kufuor, forwarded by Gordon Brown and written by Ivor Ajimengdua, with a poetry complement, Keeper of the Remains. Congratulations once again to former President Kufuor for sharing your collection. God bless you, and God bless our homeland, Ghana.
Fine art, according to Gustavo Corbett, is knowledge made visible. On Tuesday at the French embassy, a section of fine arts lovers were for the first time introduced to a collection of art by the former President J. Kufuor in a book titled Art and the Power of Goodness. The book highlights beautiful, rare collections of art from across the world collected by the former president. This collection shows much of a lover of fine art President Kufuor is. Ivor Ajimengdua is the author of this book.
Art is universal, and to the extent that it's universal, there are values in art that will help with our own personal development. It will also help with social development. It will help at the end with national development. We look at art and we look at the level of creativity in the country. So we can use art to also measure the level of creativity in the country. And of course, the works of the objects in this are national and international. We are not only talking about Ghanaian and West African objects or art, we're also talking about East and Southeast Asia and what we have in common with them and what we don't have in common with them. So it's views coming together, histories coming together, and then humanity coming together.
But how do we as a country develop love or pay attention to the arts even though it remains a taste for a section of the public? Nana Asante Bedietwo is Executive Secretary to the President, Akufo-Addo.
You're right in the sense that not many people actually are into fine art, paintings and sculpture, where somebody's labor of love is involved. A lot of the stuff you buy for decorating, they're made in factories in China or something. But I think the important thing is to have outlets where people, sometimes people take their children to the mall on Sundays just to have something to do. Now, if we had a lot of museums or galleries or contemporary spaces for art, people might want to do that. And through publicity and education in schools, you will get more people interested in art. Yeah.
For someone like me who is gradually growing fond of fine arts, people like Her Excellency Madame Anne-Sophie Ave, Ambassador of France to Ghana, should be my inspiration.
I think that the way I see it is from the natural disorder of something like, chaos of nature, men, when they suddenly want to dominate it, make something very graphic, very organized, and you see the people are lined up very neatly. So yeah, we bring order to the nature, and nature brings food to us. But that's a very personal.
Which is very good. Which is why you're in a better position to advise, Ghanaians out there who are watching us. I think the importance of appreciating arts.
I think someone else would probably see a house that looks like a family house, or reminds them of a village, maybe see some water and see a river, and suddenly it will bring memories or histories from the river. That's the way I see it, because I don't know, maybe of my culture. Yeah. But what's important is that everyone sees something, because again, it's a dialogue between your emotions and the artist's emotions that he has depicted, given life to through a painting.
At the end, Ghana can only begin to pay attention to the arts and explore its world like the former President Akufo-Addo did.
The Art and the Power of Goodness, a collection of John Agyekum Kufuor. Should be an interesting read.
Right, so pretty incredible photos in there and some art pieces. I particularly like the one where he's presented as a cop. Yes, they have one. And then there's also this lovely photo of the wife.
Teresa.
Young Teresa.
Okay.
If you can see that.
Yeah, so cute.
Yeah.
Do you love the present?
Yeah.
Look at you enjoying it.
Yeah, I'm loving the book. Okay, so I'm going to keep it as you've given it to me.
Yeah, so let's stay on the arts.
You're not going to ask for it again, are you?
No. Why should I? You're confusing me. I will keep it for you, before we're done with it.
Let's go on.
Right? No. Because for somebody who has championed Highlife music for, so many years. So he said this at the vetting yesterday. He was being vetted for the deputy minister position. Yeah. Right. So, Marco Krikumanti.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Highlife has actually not gone for it to come back. It is evolution of sound. If you listen to the 70s and the Nampedus, and then it came to George Darko changing using Boga beats, making it the Equity Brafo Boga Highlife. And then over time, we had people like Charles Sama also coming in with a different type of Highlife. Then that the Lumba Kojenchi, before the Hinaba Kisis, so then the Dasper Jamines also came to change it. After the first generation, we got to Friamponsa. If you listen to all these rhythms, you will see that almost everyone comes with a different form of high life. So it will be difficult to have a particular type of high life play for about 20 years. It will still be their high life.
I love high life music.
We all do. Well, I do too.
Yeah. So I mean, yesterday he was supported by, you know, industry players. I saw Samini somewhere in there, Wendy Shea, you know, all of them, you know, they were there to support.
How about Shatawale?
Obviously, he won't show up. He wasn't really excited about Mark's position, so.
Okay.
So Uncle Boy is also, was there to support.
All right, that's cool. Let's go.
When I decide that
Wow. Decide, everyone.
When I decide that I want to become the minister for, what can I be? Don't tell anybody.
Right, whichever ministerial position you get.
Me.
Yeah, sure.
Please support me.
All right, thank you very much, Becky, for bringing us showbiz.
Anytime.
We're taking a break. We have more news coming away. Stay tuned in. In other news, Defense Minister Dominic Nitowol has justified government's decision to hire an aircraft for the president's recent trip to Europe, explaining the presidential jet could not have made the trip. MP for North Tongue Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa had accused President Akufo-Addo of blatant profligacy and a rape of the public purse for the use of the Acropolis luxury jet, which he says cost about 3 million cedis. He said the decision smacks of insensitivity at a time that the country is going through austerity and threatening to hold the defense and finance ministers before the House to answer questions on the matter. In his appearance before the House Wednesday, Mr. Nitowol said though the Falcon presidential jet is airworthy, it's not okay for long trips.
Falcon 900, though serviceable, lacks enough range to reach long-haul destinations without refueling stops. The Falcon 900 jet will technically stop at airports where the president does not intend to do a stopover, and this could lead to unnecessary delays and placing a burden on an unintended host to offer diplomatic courtesies that they would not ordinarily be prepared for. Typically, a normal refueling stop takes about 1 hour, but in this COVID era, refueling may take about 2 hours or more because the passengers have to disembark and or the host country security has to enter the aircraft to inspect. The era of COVID-19 and its associated protocols, including distancing, has further brought to bear the inadequacies of our current aircraft fleet. Mr. Speaker, we must remember that ideally, a president must travel with his office. That is staffers who will be around him in order for the president to be able to do his work efficiently and effectively, even without whilst abroad. As it stands, Mr. Speaker, it is important that he travels with his security as well as his presidential press corps when necessary. Currently, when the president uses the Falcon 900 EasyJet, most of these other necessary staffers travel commercial with increased cost, as well as suffering attendant delays in transit because of the lack of direct flights to ultimate destinations. The simple answer I would have given to the question asked by the honorable member would have been a simple yes. The Falcon EX Easy with registration number 9G-EXE is serviceable. But as members will now appreciate from my explanation earlier, the decision to travel particularly to long and multiple destinations, such as the president traveling to France, Belgium, South Africa, and back to Ghana, especially during this COVID time, would always require a larger capacity aircraft, such as a BBJ or an aircraft ACJ 319U, even when the Falcon is airworthy.
The ranking member on Parliament's Foreign Affairs Committee, Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, says the responses are unsatisfactory. He insists the presidential jet could have done the trips.
We as a minority are not impressed one bit by the answers the defense minister provided. The question was simple. What is the state of the presidential jet, the Falcon 900 EXE? And is it airworthy? That is the simple, urgent question. Clearly, you can see that the Falcon, the presidential jet, is airworthy, and so the president could have used the presidential jet for his 3-nation tour over 9 days to France, Belgium, and South Africa. That is what the minority wanted to prove today. And it's important that fundamentally the people of this country know. The minority has proven today that the presidential jet, there's nothing wrong with it. It is in good shape. It is in pristine condition. It is in mint condition. And that His Excellency President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo could have used the jet on the 16th of May when he flew to France. Now, the second point which must be emphasized is that the Falcon could have taken the president to France, Belgium, and South Africa.
Parliament has approved the nomination of Charles Edu Boaheng as Minister of State at the Finance Ministry, with a caution to be mindful of conflict of interest situations. The House also approved the nomination of 11 deputy ministers at Wednesday's sitting. NDC MP on the Finance Committee, Isaac Adongo, had urged his colleagues to block Mr. Edu Boaheng's approval because his company, Black Shield Advisory, had won government contracts to serve as brokerage advisors for bond issuances. But Minority Leader Harun Idrisu says he has confirmed from the Bank of Ghana that the firm has not been doing business in the bond market.
I beg to second the motion ably moved by the chairman of the Appointments Committee that this August House considers the nomination of one Minister of State, the Honorable Mr. Charles Kofi Asare Edu Boaheng, and the other deputy ministers of state, as mentioned by the chairman of the committee, which include some members of parliament, men bonds. Mr. Speaker, the committee probed further to ascertain whether there is no potential conflict of interest that probably may inure to the benefit of the nominee, since this activity and transaction is largely financial. Mr. Speaker, we went further even to request for some information from the Bank of Ghana to satisfy ourselves. But Mr. Speaker, this parliament must set standards. That is why when we are passing legislation, we say that where you have an interest, make a declaration and rescue yourself from the sitting of that particular committee. But Mr. Speaker, we are told that the Bank of Ghana and the Ministry of Finance listed Black Star Brokerage Company, a company in which he held interest, as a transaction advisor for the issuance of government bonds. So we need to be told, will this company tomorrow benefit from the issuance of government bonds? How do we draw the line that he is not taking advantage of his occupation of that high public office of Minister of State at Finance, so that this will inure to his personal benefit or corporate benefit? Mr. Speaker, we say so because evidentially conflict of interest remains the most veritable source of corruption globally. And therefore, we do not want a situation of abuse of office, abuse of privilege tomorrow, where he would water the farm to his advantage because of it.
NDC MP Mama Yariga is calling for a proper definition of what exactly constitutes conflict of interest.
Mr. Speaker, the rules are not very clear how this really relates. And we have also not developed a coherent regime relating to conflict of interest. We don't have a specific statute on conflict of interest elaborating on the situations that will constitute clear cases of conflict of interest. We all appreciate the fact that when someone is in public office, that person cannot at the same time also run a public company, and that company should not do business with government in a way that that person uses his office to influence the business. That is the general principle and understanding. And so in the past, this committee has always allowed a situation where people resign from their companies and people declare. And we know that in the proceedings of this House, in a matter that is before us, the Constitution is clear that you declare your interest and not participate in the vote. But here, Mr. Speaker, people were concerned about a tendency for someone in public office who has left his company, a private company, is no longer in control, but that company continues to do business with government. And the likelihood that when the person leaves public office, that person could go back to the company and at that point benefit from the opportunities that the company may have had during the period when the person is or was in public office. This is just a likelihood, and we don't have clear rules. We don't have those clear rules. So I think that a right honorable speaker may give some directions so that this House will work on clear rules.
Government says its COVID-19 vaccination program is still on track despite supply chain constraints, which has made procurement of vaccines problematic for especially developing countries. Majority of Ghanaians are yet to be vaccinated, while some 500,000 people who have been given a single dose of the AstraZeneca jab are unsure when they will be fully vaccinated. Giving an update on the vaccine campaign, Health Minister Kweku Adjumamenu said scientific data suggests a protracted delay with the supply of the second jab is not entirely fatal. There's more in the following report.
Government intends to vaccinate a total of 20 million citizens by end of year. The nation is currently inching closer to 1 million.
Vaccination. So far, we have actually vaccinated 852,047 persons who have had the first dose of vaccination. Then we have another 379,156 people who have so far also received their second jabs out of the 381,000 targeted. We're looking to do 381,000 based on the doses of vaccines that we had, despite the fact that our first jabs went round to 852,000. So here we achieved 98.something% target when we started doing the second dose for AstraZeneca.
The health minister says persons who are yet to receive the second dose should not be worried.
Those of us who have not had our second dose yet, there is a lot of hope. We have indications that is giving us hope for the very near future. We are expecting vaccines from the US. We've got a promise from the UK to try to help us get our second dose go through very quickly. The numbers are just about what will give us the gap that we have with the second dose. The exact date that is coming, we don't know, but we anticipate this late June, early July, these things will happen.
He further revealed the nation is still pursuing local options for the production of COVID-19 vaccines.
The government has set up a committee for vaccine production, chaired by the Minister for Environment and Science. They have also done a lot of work. Committee members are paid from the scientific world, some in the ministry and other scientific institutions. They are working very fast. They have even visited and they are partnering with private sector companies that were originally also preparing to produce some semblance of vaccines in our country. Looks like 3 of such facilities have been picked up. And they are liaising with the international community to see how they can start working. Their strategy is to try to do what they call filling and packing first, and then the science community will also take some time to start developing vaccines in our country. So that area is also seriously being considered, and we are actually on course in that direction.
Government says it is hesitating in executing its commitments in the agreement with middlemen for supply of COVID-19 vaccines due to the failure of these businessmen to also meet supply timelines.
The LC that we did, we are still waiting. The schedules that we have in the agreement becomes effective. The agreement becomes effective after ordering and issuing letters of credit. Because they haven't been able to supply us even with the first 300,000, we have to hesitate a little bit to make sure that they are going to perform before we do the next LC. The Russian agreements are about similar. So the second one we even did, we're only hesitating to see if the first one can actually bring before we go ahead to try to do the LC for the second one. Whatever it is, we may have to procure. And so far as we are getting bilateral engagements to do, we wouldn't have options than to continue to engage middlemen to some limited extent.
Citizens are reminded to stick to the COVID-19 protocols of regular hand washing, social distancing, and wearing of face masks.
Retired police officer and member of Parliament for WASSCE says the police services missed the fine opportunity to transform the service. According to him, the service is abandoning what he calls the transformation agenda initiated by former Inspector General of Police Dr. Asante Epietu.
It is not about the IGP. It's about the fact that the system is old. We need to reform it. Yes, we need to reform the system. And he brought, I was just the executive secretary, a small boy.
That's one of his former bosses. Yes. He actually served the
yes. So he brought what we call the police transformation agenda. The few questions that we're asking, just go to town and ask, is crime going down? The people say no. Are you happy with the police? The people say no. Do the police respond in time when you call on them? The people say no. Do you trust the police? The people say no. And if all these answers are no, go back to the police. Are you happy yourself as a police officer? He said no. Is your welfare the best that you think of? He said no. If all these answers are no, the simple solution is that we need reforms. So he introduced what we call the police transformation agenda. People didn't get it. It was a long-time project that was supposed to transform the Ghana Police Service into a democratically nurtured police organization capable of carrying this country to another level. But we didn't get it. We didn't get that support. Today, we are back to zero. And all these things that are happening, my brother, motorbikes-related crimes. There was something we introduced we call rovers. We observed that we need to use motorbikes to respond to motorbike. And the police motorbike should be more robust. And these people, if you have two people sitting on a police motorbike, fully dressed with their ballistic helmet and flak jacket, they can chase these people. As they fire, they will fire back. They can chase and fire. And at the end of the day, you can ride your motorbike and go and commit crime. Because of CCTVs in the system and connected to the emergency command center, look, we will generate an information that gradually you find about 10 sets of different motorbikes from the police getting into a particular zone, and wherever you pass, you will meet them, and you can't escape. Right. And that is gradually where we're going.
Former Member of Parliament for Misha North reiterated the need for the Small Arms Commission to intensify sensitization on the handling of illegal weapons in the country.
Calling on his head is too premature to start with, because from where I sit, and I think he's doing his best to enhance public safety. He needs our support. Let the system also support him. He's an individual. But there's this commission. I think they should leave that to the needed expectation. The Ghana National Commission on Small Arms and Light Weapons. Right. Yes, the executive director, the secretary there must be up and doing. They need to sensitize the public in terms of possession of illicit firearms. Okay.
Yeah, welcome to business. Over 700 mine workers at Future Global Resources at Prestia in the Western region are demonstrating in demand of knowing who the actual owners of the mining firm is, since it was sold out last by Gold Star Resources. Golden Star is also an established gold mining company that owns and operates the WASSCE underground mine in the Western region of Ghana, West Africa. Listed on the New York Stock Exchange American and the Toronto Stock Exchange, as well as the Ghanaian Stock Exchange, Golden Star is focused on delivering strong margins and free cash flow from the WASSCE mine. The Senior Staff Union Secretary, Samuel Kumimenu, who has been speaking to Joy Business, says that they are not going to work until they receive positive answers from the management of the firm.
These are workers of Bogosu Christian Mines, which was originally owned by GSR. As it is of public record, last year, 1st October 2020, the mine was sold to FGR, that's Future Global Resources. As we speak now, we can't find the leadership of Future Global Resources. We don't know where Glenn Baldwin, who is the CEO of Future Global Resources, is. Along the line, we have received memos from a company known as Blue International Group, who claim to be the ultimate beneficial owner of the mine. Now, we are confused as employees. We don't know who really owns the mine, who actually bought the mine from GSR. So one of the reasons we are demonstrating this morning is to find from leadership who actually owns this mine. Is it GSR, is it FGR, or it is Blue Holdings? It is one of the reasons why we are demonstrating. Secondly, we also want to know how much in terms of investment that the new owner is actually investing in the company, because 9 months along the line, we have not seen any form of investment in the company. And we see the company fortunes dwindling day by day. Our productions are going down. So we want to know how much in terms of investment the ownership of the mine is really putting into the company, so that the company will become a viable one. Because as concerned employees of the mine, we don't want the company to collapse in our hands.
Today by a fire outbreak. Information gathered on the ground reveals that the cause of the fire is yet to be determined. My colleague Nicholas Brown visited the scene and put this report together.
In the early hours of this morning, scores of shops were destroyed by fire here at Aboso Okai. Well, the actual cost of these items are yet to be ascertained. Of course, I have some of the shop owners here.
Thank you. I do stay at Barry. Around 3 o'clock, I had a call from my friend. Even my phone was off, so they called my wife and they told me a sad story. They said, well, our place is burning, so I have to rush. Even I wasn't able to get car, so I took a motor. I went to my friend and I took motor and I came here. When I came, it was a shock. At least I've not seen some before, because all our things are destroyed. Even my brother now is seriously sick at the hospital because he came and saw the shock news and he don't know what to do. The government should come to our aid, because right now we don't know what to say. Our things has been destroyed. Even yesterday, what pains me most is yesterday we went to brought in some things and even everything is burned. Right now everything, we don't have anything. We ought to even take home right now. As we please government come to our aid, because everything.
Has any of the authorities, the assemblyman, the MP, has any of them been here, and what have they been telling you?
I don't even know what to say. I don't even know what to say. It's in the morning that the assemblyman and the chairman here just came here. And they came to talk to us, and they just told us that they are going. So they will just come to our aid. But up to now, we've not even hear anything. So we are here. We are just waiting for some help.
Passing by here, passing by here, getting to the down there. I packed my tools, all my things I'm selling. That was meter board. Was packing into box, big. But as I come this morning, they say here has been burned. I come, all my goods and my everything was out. Has been burned.
So what's the total cost of the things that have been burnt?
Yes. I can't value the amount, because sometimes I was selling one about 250. But the things are plenty. There's no uncountable. Plenty things.
Let me come to you again. I mean, do you know the total cost of the things that were destroyed here?
Actually, the total cost is we can't even calculate the total cost, because we are more than 20 people who use this same place, and everybody's things has been destroyed. We don't know. I don't know even how to express myself. Even yesterday, we went and brought goods more than 500 million. Yesterday, even I told my brother not to buy, because we are not in normal times, and even the market is not moving on well. But because we have to get in more goods, we have to pay for it yesterday. Even we paid for all and we brought it even yesterday. And I don't know how to even express myself. I'm in shock. I'm in total shock. The government should come to our aid. Otherwise, we don't know what to do.
Reporting for Joy Business, I am Nicholas Brown.
Well, of course, we've contacted the co-chair of Abosso Okai, who says that the association suspects arson in this case as they, help with the police service with investigations. We shall keep an eye on this to give you updates as and when we do have them. But away from that, the managing director of ZPay, Andrew Tachi Apiab, says his outfit is committed to improving upon the 3.5 billion remittance flow transactions recorded last year. He spoke to Joy Business at a conference organized by his outfit to commemorate the International Day for Family Remittance.
The 6% is for actually 2020. In 2020, Ghana did 3.5 billion, amounting to about 23 million transactions. ZPay contributed 2.4 million of that. In 2021 first half, we've done just about the same as what we did 2020 full year. As at Monday, we had done about $420 million at about 2.1 million transactions. This year, we're poised to do 4.5 million transactions at $840 million. Beyond that contribution, we're also contributing to improving the lives of immigrants and diasporans. Some of these events are some of the things we do as a thought leadership to bring remittances to the forefront and to make it a policy agenda with government, which is why we work with partners like IOM and partners like UNCDF. For us, remittance will remain our business model, remittance to wallet, and we'll continue to do this across the continent. As you might know, we recently acquired Mangui in Zambia to become ZPay in Zambia. We're on a journey to acquire as many as we can to build an African story, which is led by Africans.
At this juncture, let's bring you international business news making the rounds around the world. What is up next? Just stay.
I'm Hans Mensah. Many thanks for joining me for the second installment of Sports. Black Stars head coach C.K. Akono says he's committed to improving his player monitoring system as he seeks to build a formidable team capable of winning AFCON 2022 and qualifying for the FIFA World Cup.
We'll be watching our players closely, having, as usual, Zoom meetings, and to inform them about what they've done, even where they are, because we've watched them. Of course, Now Patrick is also here, who will lead that course because he's in Europe and he will be visiting them every now and then. He's developed a very good relationship with the technical team and of course with the players. And so it's all looks positive. There's been a lot of positivities, going on with us. We want to then, try as much as we can to improve how we can attack quickly, and how it demands that we look at which perspectives we can use to achieve that. And so, but within this same amount of players that we have on board, and that fact, this exercise has been very, very positive for us.
The fire. There is more in the following report. At this year's Mr. Ghana Grand Prix qualifier at the Smith Guest House here in Accra, bodybuilders across the country competed in men's physique long, men's physique short, classic physiques, and women's wellness and figure. At the end of a grilling contest, 19 bodybuilders in the men's physique category made it to the main competition. 2 qualified from the men's classic and 3 secured qualification in the women's category. President of WABA Ghana, Victor Baden, was impressed with the performance of bodybuilders.
It was a wonderful event. The show itself was fantastic. It was fabulously organized. The guys had fun, as you could tell. Everybody turned out well. The guys, I'm even surprised because this is only a qualifier, and these guys came in such good condition. They gave us snippets of what is to come in the finals. So I'm really impressed, very excited.
This year's Mr. Ghana Grand Prix will be held at the National Theatre on September 4. Victor Baden expects fireworks.
We're gonna get the best of the best out of this group. They've got 6 months to really get ready for September. So that tells me, is this 6 months or 4 months? That tells me that they're going to come in their best conditions ever, and they will look like world champions on the stage. And that's what's very fascinating about this whole thing, because the guys are gradually understanding the sport of bodybuilding. They're doing the right things. They're training well. They're eating well, and you can see the potential we had on stage tonight. Exciting times, bodybuilding is going places. Definitely we're gonna generate world champions out of this group.
All I really need is a little bit, not a lot, baby girl, just a little bit. We can head to the crib.
Director of Ace Power Promotion has called on boxing managers and promoters to allow Ghanaian boxers to fight among themselves in their various weight divisions for the public to see competitive fights in Ghana.
A lot of good fighters in the featherweight division. If you look at the Ghana featherweight division, solid fighters, from Alfred Lamte to John Lai to Holy Dogbeto to, why are they not fighting themselves? Why is it that always when they are fighting, you go check the records, you see that they are fighting somebody who is not even in the list? Why is it that they are not meeting themselves? Why can't John Lai, for example, defend his Ghanaian title, Ghana featherweight title, with Alfred Lamte, for example, or with Holy Dogbeto, for example, so that we can see very, very competitive fights. And I mean, Ghana boxing can resurrect, because if fans are coming into the arena and they are not getting their money worth, how will they come again? They won't come again if they come and see the fight and they see a lot of acting. It's like we are doing movies. It doesn't help us. It doesn't help boxing. And I hope that our friends in the media can touch on these things so that we can make amends.
That's your sport. There is more at myjoyonline.com/sport. My name is Hans Mensah Ando.
Right, and that'll be it for the Bulletin. I'm Israelite. Thank you very much for watching.